You always have collaborators. You're always on a team. Even if you are making a single player game and you're making it alone with no one else's input, feedback, etc., just by virtue of the fact that you are creating this thing to deliver to players. Now, I guess the only exception is to be if you're writing a game that's not meant for any players to actually play it, which at that point I guess is just software. If you're expecting someone to play your game, they're on your side, you're on their side, you are in co-op with them. You're sharing the objective of your goal and their goal are alike. To help them either have a good time or to think about something in a new way or just to go through a certain kind of experience. Right? I mean, it's like if someone's doing a game of D&D and there's a dungeon master, their goal is not to defeat the players. They're on the same side of wanting to provide an experience that was worth having and worth providing. And this can, of course, especially in the modern context, it manifests itself in lots of ways, including how you choose to either engage with your players, go through, consider, account for their feedback, account for their interests. Now, huge disclaimer on this. Obviously, what I'm not saying is that necessarily is a case where every single player of the game needs to be having the say over trying to tell developers or other creators what they should or shouldn't make. There's a certain degree to which there are always going to be, hopefully, more people playing the game than who work on it. And so there's choices have to be made about which feedback we choose to go off of, which input we think best aligns to the thing that's in alignment with our objective. Where again, you're in co-op with those people. You share the same want of this should be better by the way that you can agree on between them and you is what you really want to achieve through it. And I just point this out because sometimes it can feel like, especially if you're working solo, especially if you're making a single player game, it can feel like teamwork isn't on the mind or doesn't need to be on the mind, but it absolutely does. Because just in the same way as you would want to be trying to account for if you're on a team, what's my artist's quirks? What's my fellow programmer's quirks or my producer's quirks? Or how do I work around their interests, their needs, their life schedule, their reality, the world they live in? Your players, you also need to be thinking about them as teammates in terms of what's their schedule like? What kind of things are they into? What else do they like? How does this complement other things going on in their world? And those can sound sometimes like business questions. Those can sound like market research questions and demographics and user profile prototypes and archetypes. And it's teamwork. It's cooperation. Even if it's freeware, even if it's just for fun, it's still thinking about those as people who you want to account for, because if they're not on board, in a way that's even worse than if your teammates directly collaborating on the project, making commits of art and audio and whatever. If they're not on the same page, it's equally important your players and developers are, to an extent, to the degree that everyone involved is benefiting from it, on the same page as well. So that's really the thought I want to share today, because life is better in co-op.